Yes, and we're back. Thank you to Honorable Tanae Farbit for that update on what's going on in her ministry and a word of advice to those who are seniors and soon to be seniors. For our second half of the show, we have another honorable minister, former health minister of the Virgin Islands, Honorable Carvin Malone. Good afternoon, Honorable. How are you doing?
A blessed and pleasant afternoon to all in Bermuda, in the Virgin Islands, and throughout the overseas territories and wherever else the program is being heard.
Yes, and we have on the Wheels of Steel Brother Dawn, who spoke to you a minute ago.
Okay, great. Brother Dawn, how are you, sir?
Fine, sir. How's things?
Outstanding.
All right, good stuff.
All right, so Honorable Malone, give us a a brief for those that don't know, the few that don't know, and those are tuning in. Tell us very briefly, 2 minutes or less, where are the Virgin Islands? How many Virgin Islands? Because when they say Virgin Islands, that means it's plural.
Okay, great. The Virgin Islands, we are, well, you see where it is, 18.25 north, 64.3 west. Mm-hmm. Just there, you could call it east of Puerto Rico, east of the United States Virgin Islands, basically. And we basically have 59 islands, keys, and inlets, and we're about 14 to 16 of the islands that are occupied. Tortola being the largest in population and size. Then Anegada is the largest in size. Virgin Gorda is the second largest in population. And then we have Jocelyn Dyke. So a lot of folks know Tortola, they know Virgin Gorda, they know Anegada, they know Jocelyn Dyke. But there's also Peter Island and Norman Island and South Island and a whole
Island.
Host. Yes.
Yes. And what is the population of the Virgin Islands, the known population?
Well, breaking news. We have the census is being completed now after a bit and delays. But the last reported one was, they always use it in a range, ranging between 30,000 and 35,000.
Okay, so basically your population is just about half of Bermuda. Because Bermuda's in that
21 square, 21 square miles on Tortola.
No, I say your population is...
That's correct.
Yes. Like Bermuda's population, total population is somewhere around 63 to 65,000.
63 to 65,000.
Whereas
right.
your population is somewhere between 30 and 35,000, right? So, but you have a lot wider land space than we do.
And water rights go 200 miles to the north in some sector, some zone, yes.
Yeah, for those that don't know, see, it was interesting you said the 64.5 degrees west, because for those that don't know, if you left from anywhere on the south side of Bermuda and set your compass due south for 1,000 miles, 1,000 nautical miles, let me be clear, you would end up...
You're 64.3 degrees west, are you?
Yes, well, it's a point. The overall point I'm saying, if you set your compass due south,
yes,
for 1,000 miles, you can go for 1,000 miles, whether you're going in a motorboat, sailing boat, or if you're swimming, you would reach the Virgin Islands. So that's an interesting there's a little nerd talk, but it's an interesting geographical point. What is the main industries of the Virgin Islands?
Oh, great. Okay, tourism has always been the mainstay, and we actually pivoted to tourism from ways back in the early 60s and so forth, when our first set of hotel properties were built. Tourism. There was a book being written, How Wide Does the Tourist Dollar Spread? Mm-hmm. And then financial services sector is the mainstay that has basically look in terms of contributing 55-60% of the intake of the territory, mm-hmm. and of course of the offshoot of that is your construction industry and other industries that have been developed.
So basically, from what he's saying, Brother Dawn, is sounds like the industries are almost the same as Bermuda: tourism, financial services, and offshoot construction and service industries.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. The difference, one of the main difference between your tourism industry and ours is that because of your warmer climate, your tourism season will probably be what month of the year?
Well, we're getting ready to ramp it up now. Traditionally, it is a November to, this is June, July, because when we're done with the August celebrations, first Monday in August, then a number of nationals go on a cruise ship, a number take vacations in different places. So one can say, and we're looking to extend it as much as we could, November straight through to August. The fact is that hurricane season, although we would like to make it a 12-month business, the fact is that hurricanes are at its peak in September. So there are a lot of people who are deterred from making that trip down, and then only to be, impeded by hurricanes and the weather system, especially from late August, September, and tailing off in actually October. We were able to avoid most of it for the past years, any detrimental one like we did with Irma and Maria back in 2017. But, it is here. It's a reality.
Yes, and your financial services, which aspect of financial services do you cover?
Well, we have at one point there were hundreds of thousands of companies that were registered here in the Virgin Islands, and of course, with all of the moving yardstick and so forth, every time you first it was compliance in terms of registration of the particular companies, and then it was a number of moving targets set by OECD and the other particular jurisdictions and so forth, EU communities and so forth. So we continue to do that. We're trying to build. There was a whole concept of substance, economic substance. I'm not sure who were able to benefit specifically from most of that, but some of the trust companies, even up to today, were telling you that they had ramped up their services for this economic substance justification, and then never really happened as such. And now, of course, it is all in the air as to whether or not the European community will be looking further in terms of having listings of people who don't comply with the economic substance and so forth. So the registration of companies is a big part of what we do here in the Virgin Islands.
Okay. And one of the things that, apart from the fact that we were all overseas territories, which is a very sanitized name for colony, right? Just keep it real, right? Well, colonies. Because at the beginning it's called British Overseas Territories, so it doesn't just say overseas territories. The reality is that we have a archaic system in which we have people, depending on where you are, thousands of miles away from our colonies, dictating to us. Some people who have never even been to our islands, dictating to us as to what we, not necessarily every single thing, but overarching rules that we have to follow, we have to comply with. If we pass something in our House of Assembly, we still have to take it to someone appointed by the British to get permission from them to pass to make this a law, right?
Yes.
So one of the things that I know that's been happening over the last few years in different overseas territories is trying to make people aware of the reality of our colonial status. What, in a short, briefly encapsulate, what is being done in the Virgin Islands to make people aware of the reality of their colonial status?
Okay, great. It's a very good question, and I like the fact that you're stressing on the short and precise answers.
Yes. Succinct. We know in your House of Assembly, you can talk for 2 hours straight, but Bermuda, we
No.
keep it succinct.
Well, okay, good. We will keep it succinct here also. Let us set the stage for this. In 1945, 78 years ago, United Nations passed a chapter basically calling for all colonies or all administrative powers to actually disband colonies. A lot of countries took up the challenge, and then there were a lot that did not. So in 1960, there was the General Assembly Resolution 1514, which basically says, and I read from it, solemnly proclaims the necessity of bringing to a speedy and unconditional end colonialism in all of its form and manifestation. I will read just one of the particular sections, which says, the inadequacy of political, economic, social, or educational preparedness should never serve as a pretext for delaying independence. Then, very quickly, there was another one, 1541, which basically states in principle number 6, a non-self-governing territory can be said to have been reached a full measure of self-government by emerging as a sovereign independent state by free association with the independent state or integration with an independent state. So those two particular areas, if you take them even by themselves, 78 years later, or 63, if you may, with the 1514 resolution, folks in the Virgin Islands, and I don't think they're saying the same thing in Bermuda, but folks in the Virgin Islands are saying they don't know what this whole concept of self-determination means, which means that when the C-24 was set up to educate all of the remaining non-self-governing states, the 17 of them, as to what their choices are in being deemed to be self-governance, I have stated before, I'll state again now, that they have failed in their discharge of their duties in terms of educating the populations in all of these other territories as to what the particular area is. There was a mandate that you would end colonialism, free, speedy, and immediate almost. Here we are, 63 years later, and when you talk about this, folks are thinking that politicians from 12 the overseas territories are just wanting that they went to sleep, wake up, and they all of a sudden they want to be quote unquote independent or free, determined, self-determined, and so forth. So the education process is going to be one in which you have generations, 40 years I believe is a generation and a half, if not more, have grown up knowing nothing else other than being a colony, being a colony, and to dismiss that particular feeling of warmth. One person say, you've grown so used to your shackles that you have become friends with it, Mm-hmm. But the whole thing is that we, with the One VI agenda, One Virgin agenda, it is going to be deemed as a non-profit. It's going to be deemed as where everyone, no matter your views, can come and take on that task of educating our population, because we cannot continue to look to the United Nations and the C-24 and others to educate you when they have settled here, especially since 1672. So 300 and somewhat years later, you expect people to just give it up? It doesn't happen automatically. Mm-hmm. So education of the process, and have a particular committee which is geared specifically to the education of the masses, so that we can then go to the referendum process and have a date stated by which the determination, the referendum could be had, and all depends on the outcome of it, decided and enacted. Mm-hmm. That's my short 2 minutes.
Thank you for. We're going to take a little break and then we'll come right back.
94.9 Bermuda. Our 95.
Yes, sir. Honorable, are you there?
I'm here, right here. Yes.
So let me ask you this, right? That we have this thing over the last 20 years that's almost freely available called the internet. And I say almost because we all pay. I looked at Digicel's rates and Bermuda, Cayman Islands, Virgin Islands, Turks and Caicos. Seems like the overseas territories are targeted to be paying the highest rates in the Western Hemisphere for data. But be that as it may, we have this thing called the internet, which people use every second. How are persons in the overseas territories? How should the overseas persons in the overseas territories use that to increase the communication, not specific to any one topic, but the communication about our commonalities? How best to use that?
Okay, great. That's a good question. I must commend you here, and you didn't prompt me to say this, but the fact is that you are using this medium to communicate to all of the particular territories. Now, there are going to be those persons who never tune in. So, although you're going to be saying the same thing 52 weeks a year for the past, well, I'm not sure how long the program has been going, then they will say that they haven't heard anyone else from anywhere else and don't know how the other territories feel. I think that, and then there's another visual one, virtual one that you help to run together with Shana and the others. And I think that we have to find different mediums in which we can go to where the people are in terms of the internet, whether it is Facebook, whether it's by Zoom, whether it's by WebEx, or any other medium that you can use so that we can then have birds of a feather flocking together, because we are not better if we are apart. We are better together. No, that's a catchphrase that everybody likes to use these days, right? Mm-hmm. But the fact is that we have to find where our common areas are, because you ask about which part of the financial services we basically employ. I could ask you the same question. I could ask Cayman the same question. I could ask Caicos the same question. And you have 3 different areas of specialties, right, that have been developed over the years. But we have to have common areas also. We have to get those and see what it is. Here is what I'm going to say, even if you don't ask the question. We have to stop depending on this UN resolution that has failed us for 63 years. We have to take the ball into our own courts, bounce it into our own courts, so that we can then provide the educational mechanism by which we can then get this 78-year-old resolution or charter effected. It has failed us over the years. We either can keep talking about it every week, or we can move into action. Set a date for the particular thing. In fact, look for a new charter. The charter should be that after 78 years, after 63 years, there was enough time for education. A resolution, a referendum should be held in each of the territories by 2025, 2026, 7, 8, 9, or 2030. Forget about the rest of it. We have built our infrastructure. We have built our institutions. And now we need to get that, if we're bound by that charter and by the C-24 failed mandate, we need to take it and then, go on a referendum. And if the people choose to, quote unquote, take no further step, because the UK is fast to say that there are 3 or 4 territories that have already demonstrated that they want no further political advancement. But I don't remember, and I have not read of where that referendum was held.
Well, this is what I would say, just as a tying a dovetail to your conversation. When you're in you know, if anyone knows about politics, it's you, right? And in order to win people over to your side, whatever your side may be, you have to present a case for why you're going to vote for me, why you're going to vote for my party, why you're going to vote for this. And I'm just playing, I don't want to use the DA word, I'm just being objective here by saying that one of the challenges that we have to be honest, right, that one of the challenges in all of our colonies is that there has been no education program. There's been no consistent push by any given government or set of governments to educate the people on not just why you should make the next step or what are the pros and cons of the next step, because it depends on which administration is in. Some are pro one way or some are anti the other way. So you could get an administration in that is quite good with the status quo of being a colony, and they will make zero attempts to educate the population. So this is where think tanks such as One VI and other think tanks around the region need to come in, that they have to take the charge to educate the people, right? Mm-hmm. Rather, and don't just give them the flowery stuff of why you should do this. Here's what happens if you do this. Here's what happens if you don't do this. These things allow there to be wholesome debate, not just with persons inside your territory, your respective territory, but across this cross-pollination, right? Yeah. So these are the things that we know that governments are not going to do. That's just not, right? Because different reasons.
Okay, good. Well, let me just add in that particular small DA. By having a series of these interviews now, mm-hmm. and with the Association of Former British Colonies and with others, I've come to this circular conversation that we continue to have as to whether or not governments have. I think that we need to take it a little bit further. We need to, number one, let our people know that it is not the government of the day who basically sat down and put it on a political platform and it suddenly is a new thing. Mm-hmm. Everyone would like to say that, you don't want accountability, so you want self-determination. It was instructed by all of the nations since 45.
Mm-hmm. Did you know how anti-missile flares work?
There was a particular committee set up to make sure it happens. Mm-hmm. So we have to look in terms of having our people know, first of all, throughout the whole 17, and specifically in the 6 of us over here, that this was not because Labour came in, Conservatives came in, OBA came in, or any other one came in. This is done. So we have to look, because right now the United Nations is under pressure, right? Mm-hmm. Because Israel is saying right now that they have failed them. Palestinians are saying they have failed them. We are saying, well, I'm saying they have failed us in that this chapter that was mandated since 1945, mm-hmm. and a specific committee to make sure the education process. So we have to stop looking for what has failed, and then what is the new decision for these administrating states to do it. We can't look to France when they continue to have colonies. We can't look to UK when they continue to have colonies. We can't look to America when they continue to have colonies. We can't look to, which other one? Netherlands when they continue to have colonies.
Spain.
We can't look to Spain when they continue to have colonies. So who are we looking to?
Well, we have to wrap it up here, and it goes right back to the inevitable. We have to look at each other.
Okay, good.
Right? Because why I say that in the sense to say, continue, promises are what people lead you down a rose garden, right? So my point is that promises are political promises, whether they're local or national, international. Most times they only work if it works in the favor of the administrative power, right? So us being self-governing, totally self-governing, does not work in the favor of our administrative power. Puerto Rico being totally self-governing does not work in the interest of their administrative power, which is the United States. So I'm saying that we only have ourselves to talk to. So we have to continue this conversation, and I will welcome you back sometime in November to continue this conversation.
Yes.
All right.
To my brothers and sisters throughout the overseas territories and wherever else this program is being heard, I say, we have ourselves to look to, and let us break the cycle of the circular conversations, and let's set some date specific of which to reach certain particular yardstick. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Honorable Carvin Malone. Please give my regards to everybody down in the Virgin Islands. I won't say the B name.
Yes.
And thank you for the work that you have done and will do for the people of the region.
And folks can actually tune into www.oneviagenda.com. That's www.oneviagenda.com.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you much.
All right. To the people of Bermuda, that's another one. What's it say, Brother Dawn?
In the can.
Another one in the can. And the Honorable Carvin Malone for his talk on the Virgin Islands and us educating ourselves as to other things beyond